Okay.
Hello, everyone. Long time no see, and we have today our podcast, Grow Together with Joe.
Yeah, so
Joe,
thank you
come
so
on in.
much. Thank you so much for being here, Jen. I'm excited to share some inspiration with you.
Yes. And Joe, where are you now? I'm sure that you are not in Vietnam, but that is a beautiful thing that we don't even meet in person yet. But then
Hmm.
we found the one thing that we are really appreciated, which is something called purpose.
Yeah.
And today we will grow together by really looking back or looking forward and looking at now to see what is the word purpose, or what is the thing that it means something to you or matters to you, every single person who is watching it right now or who even not watching it. So Joe, can you jump in and share why did you choose this as the most important thing in your journey? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, purpose for my journey has been very important. Let me first of all maybe tell you like where I came from and introduce myself quickly. But I'm a Dutch guy, so I'm from the Netherlands, and so it's very nice to be connecting with people all over the world right now, because most of your community is in Vietnam, right? But I'm Dutch, and I grew up in the Netherlands for most of my life. Did my school there, and then I went to get onto a corporate job for roughly a decade, so 10 years, where I worked in a supply chain, in finance, and in sales. So I had various jobs, and I liked the work that I was doing. But I was always looking for something more. I always had these questions in my mind, like, why am I actually doing what I'm doing, or what am I really after in my life? But I never really figured out how to do it, and so I just kept working. And then I came at a certain point in my career that I felt, completely stuck in the things that I was doing. And I started going with headaches to work, and I felt like energetically drained. And I was asking myself, right, why am I bringing myself in this state to work if your work should be something, and also your life should be something that you should be excited about, that you should be, like trying to help other people, trying to touch people's lives and make a positive impact in the world. And I wanted to do something with that. I just didn't know how. And then, like, I decided to quit my job now 3.5 years ago, and started doing things that I really loved, that gave me lots of energy, because I really needed to get more energy out of it. So I started traveling the world to the most amazing places that I always wanted to visit, like Mount Fuji in Japan. Don't ask me why. I
You come
visited.
here, Vietnam?
I didn't go to Vietnam, no, not yet, but I will visit you, Jen. Yeah. And I've traveled, for example, to California to visit some friends that I met while I studied abroad 10 years ago. I always promised to see them. I did volunteering work in Sri Lanka. Um, I started immersing myself completely into personal development, because this was something that I always loved. It was always something that I had a huge interest in, and I wanted to explore that into a bigger context, especially to find out, what my purpose was and how I could give a meaningful contribution to the world, and also how I could help people starting to do that. As I came back from on my world traveling and I started thinking about what I was really wanting to do, I knew that I wanted to, help other people get from being stuck to living out what truly matters to them, so that they could build a more positive impact in the world. And right now, that's what I'm doing as a personal leadership expert, as a coach, and I'm also building a learning network, so that all these like-minded people that wanna, build their legacy, they can do that together and they can grow and learn together. And that's right now what I'm doing at the moment. And I absolutely, love what I do, because I really like it when, when I see that people love their work and their lives. And that is why purpose is such an important thing for me, because I knew where I came from, and now how much it means to me to know what my purpose is and to also live it out. Because I think knowing your purpose is one, but doing it is something else, right? That's, you still need to take some steps in order to do that. And I'm very happy to make other people more aware of what their purpose is and how they can start living that out and make an impact, a positive impact in the world, so that they can help other people. Yeah.
Lovely. So I have got a lot of keywords here because I think through your journey, people start redirecting and they probably like see a pattern that they normally hear from others. We work in a certain thing and we found that, oh, what is that? Why I'm having that voice keep telling me something that's not right. And then either we keep staying on that and become numb, or we make a change, and that require courage. So I like to break it down in maybe 3 different, like let's say, questions which align with your journey, so maybe we can learn from that. So the first is, you mentioned on you have worked 10 years, and what was that process that you like, oh, this is enough, and then you travel around the world?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question, because, like I said, I always have been interested in personal development and these kind of stories, such as, you know, what is actually my purpose? Why am I here on this planet? And that started mostly with my father. So my father was a coach, or he's still a coach nowadays, and he helps people in their energy management. And he gave me and my brother a book when I was about, I think, 10 years old. And that book, the title of the book, it was a Dutch book, so it's a translation, would be like, "Why did you come to Earth?" And the book would be like a children book, and it would explain like why we are here, what you're here to do, how you can explore your talents, how you can explore your gifts and give a meaningful contribution to the world. And that book made me very aware of that we are here for a reason, and that we, you know, can build a better world with all the people that we live with. And so this has always been with me. I just never knew how to give it an expression, because I was also being taught by society to do good in school, get high grades, and that your high grades will eventually give you, you know, a good university degree. And when you have a good university degree, eventually you can land a great job in a multinational, like I did. I walked that path, right? But it didn't give me that that fulfillment and enrichment that I was looking for. And I think that was the key that was missing. And so having these questions on the back of my mind, and then also going to work on a daily basis with low energy at the end of my career. And then one thing happened that was like a kind of a key moment in my career. I was working. I just got promoted to a new function. I went to a finance function, a pretty cool job. Like, I was going to be a business partner for procurement, and I met a lady there in my team who helped me a lot. And she, you know, helped me my way out in the beginning to get more used in the function. And then after a couple of months, she suddenly declared to the team like, "Hey guys, I'm leaving." And everybody was like, "What? Are you leaving? Why are you quitting your job?" And everybody would think that she would go to a competitor, perhaps, like do something else in finance for a competitor. But apparently, she had completely different plans. And she mentioned that she was actually going to quit everything. And she found out while she was sick at home for a couple of weeks, she was recovering from a disease, that she had a true passion for painting and arts. She started painting at home while she was sick. She had nothing else to do. And she really, really loved that. But then when she came back to work, she noticed that I wanted to do more with that. So she quit her job and she went to do a 4-year study in Florence in Italy, a bachelor study in arts. And, you know, that move really inspired me, because she was like in the beginning of her 30s. Yeah, you know, high profile, always very loved by other people. And her move made me think like, you know, if she can do it, I might as well also can do that, right? And that really made me think. So that was also a kind of a, like what you say, like a defining moment for me to to see like, oh, if she can, I can, and why not? So that was a defining moment for me that set a couple of things in motion, to start quitting my job and think about other things that I could do. Yeah.
Powerful, because I see that maybe someone can relate here, because we know that it's not one moment, but it's a combination of different kind of journey. And during that journey, you have recognized something, and then there's that kind of moment to maybe push that decision making. And what we are doing, like in your career, I believe now you helping people to have that realization, and then that kind of moment where they can make a decision, so they can change that direction of what is the next action. So you talk about your inspiring friend, and if she can do it, you can do it, and we also can do it if we think it's important and if we give it a move, right? And that remind me about a friend, and let's say like very almost boyfriend, and he suddenly quit his job after coming back from Thailand trip. He's not Vietnamese, and he was like a really high profile too, like a manager, and everyone dream about his position and his job. And the reason also because he loved painting, and when he went to Thailand, he started painting all the views of Thailand sky, and that inspired him to make that decision. Even he didn't even learn in school about painting. It was so struggling for him at the beginning of the journey. But that also inspired me when I changed my engineering career. I was like thinking about that. And so we had like share story here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I want to share that in our podcast. So you're like, oh yeah, so interesting. Yeah. So you mentioned about your travel, and what was that most important factor that you realized in that traveling journey? Because I think a lot of people also choosing traveling as a way to kind of like reshape their thinking, or to just make another direction in their life. And do you think that everyone has to travel to realize something like that?
Oh, that's a good question, but I'm not sure if everybody has to travel. But what I like, I think it has to do a lot to do with like what your values are at a certain point in life. So when I was in corporate, I started, immersing myself really into personal development. I had a coach, and to see what I really wanted to get out of life, right? And to see what kind of values my life were comprised of. And I noticed that like the values that I wanted to have in my life were like, freedom, were adventure, so things like traveling, were like personal growth, and also to be parts of groups of like-minded people who were exactly like kind of building their dreams and living their mission and already speaking out. So I wanted to become part of that, and be part and immerse myself with these people. And so for me, I realized that everything what my values were, I was not having in my corporate job. So it was it wasn't like an easy decision then to leave, but it was like a huge realization for me, like, why I'm actually here in the office on, let's say, 150 square meters, always sitting like between the walls and, always behind my laptop, if I want freedom, if I want to travel. And so what I would say is that travel gave me a lot, because I wanted to regain my energies, and travel is one of my passions. And I noticed that I had a kind of a bucket list. Like I told you, I wanted to see Mount Fuji. I wanted to travel to California to visit some friends. I wanted to do volunteering, because I have always been a coach since I'm young. I've been training young athletes in track and field. So ever since I was like 14 or 15 years old, I have been in front of groups to train the kids. And this was a passion of mine as well. I wanted to bring that into a bigger context by also giving back to, poor rural communities. And that's one of the reasons why I went to Sri Lanka to be a trainer there as well, and to teach and educate. And, I just noticed that after traveling, it just gave me so much energy, and it was exactly the kind of things that I was looking for to understand what I wanted in my life. Because there's two ways that you can look at it, right? When you are in your corporate job and I was very low in my energy, I could think about the things that I wanted, but it just didn't came to me. Then when I did all these amazing travels and I had so much energy gain, I came back and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Why don't I want to explore more about myself, and why don't I do something with the knowledge that I have right now? And that gave me a lot of energy. And so perhaps it might not be traveling for everybody, but I would really like ask the people, like, what do you get energetic about? You know, what do you get excited about? Doesn't need to be traveling. It can be painting, where we were talking about, right? If it's painting, it can be painting, or even reading books at home. I don't know, listening to music. There are several ways that you can go about it and feel what's most exciting for you, so that you can get in that optimal state of energy from where you can live in a whole different way. I think that was the most important for me.
So I can give like a kind of takeaway of myself is, as you said, traveling is one way, but the idea is to do something that you feel energetic and you feel passionate about, and maybe do it in the way where you can sink into it and you can like feeling like dream with it, or then getting out that previous energy, and then maybe at the time you will gain that clarity. And I can see that you say like dream again and dream big again, and believing in that possible dream. So the next would be also almost last of our conversation today. You had that kind of journey of trying to do the life tennis and got to the point where you make a decision to make a change, and then you have kind of like the time to refresh. And in your way is like traveling, and in other people way, like you said, can be maybe painting, or maybe just going to meditation, you know. And then after that, how did you really choose this new career? And it's beautiful because most of our friends coming here, it seems like they're also working in training coach, but I believe that as you are doing with other leaders, you have them to love what they do. So what is a kind of process in your case to choose, this is my career passion, and what about other people? How can they kind of figure it out?
Yeah, I think everything, at least for me, starts out with being completely honest to yourself and open about what it is that you truly want to do. I think that is has been the most important for me to understand. So I had, like, when I left corporate, I already had a couple of ideas about what I wanted to do. I just didn't know yet how to put that into action. And that's why I want to take time for myself to travel and to visit other people and see how they will do it. One of the things that I always wanted to do was to become an event host and organize events. And so that was one of the reasons that I started traveling around the world to see other masterminds, other seminars, workshops. I even went to retreats just to see how people would organize it, and also how people would be on stage. And I learned a lot from that, and I took these learnings to myself and tried to figure out how I then wanted to implement an event for myself, right? I think that was one of the most important things. So it has to do with learning. And then also, like I said in the beginning, I had a lot of different ideas. One of my ideas was to build a kind of a gym, like a sport boutique fitness club. Because I've always been an athletics trainer, so I've always been very closely related to sport, and sport has always been one of my passions. And that is something I really wanted to do and build a community around it. And so also one of the things that I was doing when I currently live in Portugal, by the way. So I moved also from the Netherlands to Portugal when I quit my career because my wife, she's Portuguese. And so when I came here, I started looking in the market to see how the sport market would be. I started visiting tons of gyms in Portugal. And then I tried to make that happen, but I completely failed as an entrepreneur with that first business because it never got off the ground. And so then I also really asked myself, is this truly what you want to do, or is it not? And then I felt like perhaps it's not really perhaps it's not really the thing for you to do right now. And so that made me more aware of the other options that I also had in mind, and I started exploring those things. And the things that really worked out were the things like organizing events. When I organized my first event, that was like a blast. I really got a lot of energy out of it. I got 3 speakers together in 2018. It was my first event in Porto. I asked them to talk about how you could be more authentic and how you could live your purpose. And I really, really liked it. I really enjoyed it because I could be the host. I could introduce them on stage. And also afterwards, with the people that were visiting the space, we had these amazing conversations, deeper and meaningful conversations about who you are and what your challenges are in your life. And that's the kind of conversations that I really love to facilitate, so that people can also have breakthroughs about their work and about their life and about what they really want to do. And I noticed that was the thing that I really love to do, make people more aware about what they truly want to live out, so that they can build a positive impact in the world. And so that has nothing really to do with the gym. Do you see? So it's like,
okay,
it's like
I think it's
like
has something to do with the gym or in the mind.
Yeah.
So actually, I had that kind of like program where I use the gym as, let's say, a word to make people like, oh, we do like physical gym, so why not that mental gym where we can be more self-aware, as you said, and we can be more courageous and we can be more compassionate. So you mentioned on, I think what we can take away, like we really need to explore and implement, and if we have different options, then when we just like make a move on that, so the results will reflect upon us. But also you said it's very important to keep like checking in ourselves, and you have the questions when you were young, your father gave you the book, and I think I saw something behind you. So I had 2 questions before we end with the summary. One is the picture. Is this the mountain that you went? And second, what is that? How can we pronounce it? But it is a book, Japanese book, that I think a lot of people get benefited from, where they can find their own ikigai.
Ikigai, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this actually is the mountain, is Mount Fuji, where I talked about. So I visited that, and that is just a symbol for me because I love it. It always gives me good energy. And then Ikigai always remembers me of, what's your reason for being? What is your purpose? And I really invite everyone to have a look at the book. You can find also more information online about Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept to find out how you can live a purposeful life. And I think it comes with, if you answer, I think there are 4 questions that you can answer around it. It's like, what do you love to do? So that's something you can find out. It's what does the world need? So what kind of problems can you fix? How can you be paid for it? That's also very important, of course. And then the 4th one is what your strengths are. So what are your natural qualities? And if you answer these 4 kind of questions, you already get closer to, why you're here on planet Earth, and what the impact is that you want to create, and eventually, of course, what your purpose is. So that's why these 2 things are important for me.
So this is the conclusion, that everything kind of like has a part of that in the book. But I just want to say thanks, because that I will remember, because it's behind you, and I have checked out the book, and I think they conceptualize it in the way that helps so many of us to really have that kind of very foundation question. So from your sharing today, I have seen some foundation question, and I like you to maybe pause with 3 of important of them and share the habits to maintain them. So this will be our summary today. So a person can take it and practice to find the meaning part of their life that maybe they don't feel strong yet.
So if I understood your question correctly, you want me to talk about the habits the listeners can maintain?
3 important questions, and then along with habits. So I think I'm so greedy, right? Because I know that having habits is very important. So even we have questions, but how can we really have good habits to create results so we can answer the question in a better state of mind.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I would say start to find out who you truly are. So this is like question number one. Who are you? It's like a basic question, sounds very simple, but if you dig down to a deeper layer, it gets probably more complicated, and you want to find out who you are. Question number two, find out what your natural strengths are. So it has a lot to do with Ikigai, what I'm saying as well. So what are you naturally gifted in? Like what comes natural to you? And then also number three is, what do you really love doing? So what do you get excited about? I get excited about having these amazing conversations with Jen, for example. Like I host, for example, podcasts, and I know that Jen will be one of my guests on the 25th of June. She will be there as well. So I'm super excited. And I also like to bring people together to have these meaningful conversations in a kind of a learning network. So that's the things that I love to do, but really check that out for yourself. And then, well, one of the habits that I use on a daily basis is I always I set out a big plan. So I have a big vision of what I want to achieve. But that often can be very, vague. Like, how am I going to achieve that mission or that vision, right? But I break it down into very small pieces. So every day, I take at least one action step that brings me closer to that mission. And so by the end of 1 year, that's already 365 days. It's 365 steps I took to get closer to that mission or that.
365.
Yeah. So that will be like perhaps a habit, but that's what I do. So every morning I just have a quick check-in with myself. Like, what can I do today to get closer to that dream goal? Is that contacting a person? Is that making a post on Facebook or Instagram? Is that doing perhaps a little bit more research with myself? Can be anything. But yeah, that's how I work and what works for me.
Beautiful. And I think I want to borrow the mountain over there to kind of conclude, and looking forward to seeing you on 25th of June. And everyone can check out your podcast. Later on, I will share what is the best way to connect you. But yeah, as you said, if we think about our big picture as a mountain over there, we want to go. Everyone has somewhere we want to go, either better version of ourselves, better job, better relationship. Then every day we break it down into small pieces, as you said. So we step one step, so we're gonna get to that mountain. And for sure, when we get to that mountain, we will appreciate that, but we also raise the standard so we can even discover bigger, stronger potential and impact we can make. So thank you so much, Joe. Having your conversation today is also one of my steps today to really keep doing what I really enjoy, which is to share the stories of someone that I know that they have found their meaning of life and they have helped other people to do so. And thank you for doing it. So what is the best way for us to connect with you so we can dig deeper in the topic of purpose and other personal leadership topics?
Yeah, so thank you, Jen, for sharing that, by the way. So I think the best way to get in contact with me is to follow the podcast. That's already a free way that you can get, more information about how you can actively start finding out what your purpose is, but also how you can live it out. I think that's the most important, build a more positive impact in the world. So that's called the Dream Builders podcast. I'm sure we drop it in the comments afterwards so that you can get the link. Another way to follow me is, of course, on Instagram or on Facebook or LinkedIn with my name, Jochem Doolaard. You can call me Joe. That's much easier.
Okay.
But we will drop the link in the comments or through my website, dreambuilders.com.
Yeah. Thank you for supporting us to build our dreams today by taking one step and by looking back or looking at what we are doing and dreaming again with one step per day to realize it. So thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. And for us in Vietnam or in Asia, wonderful night for us. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you
Looking
so
forward
much, Jen,
to
for this amazing conversation, and I can't wait to have you on the podcast as well, on the Dream Builders podcast. So I invite also everyone to listen to the podcast on the 25th of June that we will be talking about. I'm sure that we'll have an amazing conversation.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we are looking forward to it and have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye bye.